few days ago, there were calls in some quarters in the eastern part of Nigeria saying that would be a befitting Christmas gift to the Igbo nation, the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Let me just first ask broadly what your take on this whole situation is.
I think there is a grand conspiracy among the elites within the Igbo nation as well, who sees his profile, his rising profile, as a threat.
Who's Nnamdi
Kanu's profile as a threat to their political relevance. That's one aspect that I see, because in the recently concluded elections, some of them used it as part of their campaign, promises, and of course, eventually, some won, some lost. What happened? They all went back to sleep. I believe that the Supreme Court, if we must respect our Constitution, has the final say, and the Supreme Court has said, release him. And the former president has no right, not to have released him. And even beyond that, we had, those two respectable nationalists, approaching and appealing to him, and he still turned them down, and they both, passed on. I think the government is setting a very terrible precedent, and some of them will be caught in this web. Probably not today, but in the future.
All right. There's while you're still on this, Ambassador, there is this concern that while we have been clamoring for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, because if the Nigerian courts, through the Constitution, have decided that the appeal to the federal courts and state high courts, if you may, about 15 judgments in his favor, or we're appealing that the Supreme Court would respect the courts of the land, or the lower courts, and ensure that he's released, as these people are clamoring for. There's a concern that we have. Nnamdi Kanu didn't wake up one morning to say, I don't like Nigeria, I want my people out of Nigeria. There are factors that led to the IPOB, the birth of IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu we now have today. And some of these factors precede some of our existence in Nigeria on earth.
Absolutely.
It runs back to the Civil War, which the promises made or agreements reached are yet to be, applied by Nigerian governments, past and present. Now that there is no conversation about what happens after you release him, now that there is no conversation about the outcry of marginalization, Shatima was in a meeting sometime last week, and was saying that those who are clamoring for cessation can't see beneath their nose, which was a slight. We had the APC talking about how they want to emancipate the Southeast politically because they have been in doldrum, I guess. All of this without addressing the core factor that gave birth to the Biafra the agitation for Biafra again, and of course, the rising in cases of insecurity, which is part of what the CLO hammered on. What do you think is going to happen? Let's pray by God's grace, like who say something happens positively, Nnamdi Kanu is released. Then what next? Does that mean that the agitation is dead?
No, I
the things they were asking for are no longer there.
Look, you see, that's where we're also getting our narrative wrong. I tell those who care to listen that, look, we are talking about institutions. We're not talking about individuals. Now, institutions are supposed to take care of. We have federal character. We have all kinds of institutions that are supposed to create some level of fairness, equity, justice, and all that in our society. And the Constitution has also guaranteed all of us that. Now, those issues predate some of us, yes. And they're still, they're still with us as at this moment. Now, he has been able to identify with it, and then has been able to, garner followers who also believed in it. Now, we are not even having that conversation, but very, very strangely, we had the 2014 confab, whereas a lot of these things were brought on the front burner, and I thought that was a golden opportunity for us to have a complete paradigm shift from the way we used to do things, and that never happened. And that was one golden opportunity, because without addressing what the issues that were generated in the confab, we will continue to have more Nnamdi Kanus.